Hello and welcome to the Be Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast, where we are reshaping life, leadership, and business from the inside out. And today I'm welcoming to the show all the way from Winnipeg in Canada. There's a province that you can talk about quickly, Buddhika, but I'm just going to say from Winnipeg, Canada, because it's easier for me. But I'm welcoming to the show today, Buddhika Madduma. Welcome to the show, Buddhika.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me for this podcast.
No, thank you. So where are you exactly? You said you're in the oldest part of Canada.
Yeah, also oldest and also most coldest part of the.
Most coldest.
Yeah, so basically most coldest, yeah, and also the oldest, yeah, too. The central part of the Canada is Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Yeah,
So that's
right.
where we located. Yeah.
Yeah, and are you having the snowstorm as well at the moment? Like, is it like are you?
No, actually, mostly East Coast they affected, but we are safe. But it was so cold last week, whole week, minus 30 degrees Celsius.
Oh my goodness, because we've had like 46 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, it's opposite. Yeah.
Extremes. But anyway, let's chat. We've got a lot to chat about and talk about New World, what you have built and scaling. You're the co-founder and CEO of Layer Next, which you established 2 years ago, so very young. And it's an AI platform building an AI CFO, so an AI Chief Financial Officer, which we all need in small business. And it is for small businesses. And essentially, what you're creating is an AI CFO that can automate your bookkeeping, do those reconciliations, and real time financial insight. You're a former founder and CEO of Zoomy Technologies, where you shipped production AI for industrial and computer vision use cases. Now leading Layer Next, you lead the public launches, events, and talks, including on data readiness and strategic intelligence. And you continue to blend that deep engineering background with pragmatic and what I like to call flow-friendly execution. Layer Next is currently only available in USA and Canada, but we were just talking pre-show about, this is a need for so many small businesses. We can't afford that CFO, but we absolutely need it within our business. And so I was asking you, when are you bringing this to Australia? I would love to trial this. But anyway, so we can talk about that later. But tell us a little bit about your journey, and then I will jump into what you shared in response to the question when booking in for the pod.
Yeah, so super excited. Yeah, and I am a AI enthusiast from when I was in my undergrad. I'm immigrant to the Canada. I was born in Sri Lanka and I did engineering in Sri Lanka and came to Canada to do my master's and PhD. I dropped out from my PhD, but completed a master's on AI. But the problem at that time, AI was not ready, and it's basically 2012, that kind of era. So AI, we had a winter and no one believing and there's no future. So I started with the computer vision because I really like how AI or the computers can see like a human. And then fast forward to now and ChatGPT or the OpenAI with the LLM, everything's changed, right? After 10 years, 2022 and 2023, they released the ChatGPT. Everyone now start talking about the AI back again, right? So we were still working behind the scene and mostly the computer vision work and also the data preparation side to train the AI model. So then we were helping organization to bring all the data and put into the LLM and generate financial insights. So we working with the large corporations. The problem we saw, we actually went to initially the everywhere, right? As a founders, right? We don't know where to start. When you talk to the customers, so many leaders say, hey, we want to solve this problem, that problem, but we didn't know where to start. So finally, we end up with the CFO office, basically the financial department. So they have the biggest pain point, and that's where we started with the enterprises, and then we slowly moved to the small businesses as well.
Interesting, because I was going to ask you, how did you find the problem? So you didn't actually, like, from a product problem perspective, you were going into businesses, but you weren't like, did you know from the outset that there was a gap when it came to CFO supporting small businesses? Like, or was it that you happened to be talking to these different companies and then you stumbled upon, in the finance department, there was a big opportunity. Like,
Yeah, that's exactly. Initially, when we started, we work with the mediums to large businesses, and like I mentioned, we work with many departments. But most pressing problem had on the CFO office. But the biggest problem with this the large organization, they use a different accounting software or the ERP system, right? Like some organization use SAP, some every single company we work with, they have different ERP system. So it's super hard to actually implement like an LLM based solution to work and deliver the outcome they expect.
yeah,
Right? Because the thing is that we have to spend at least 3 to 4 months to fine tuning, and we need to deploy a forward deployment engineer to this organization, and customers actually not willing to pay that upfront cost because they don't know the outcome. So it's very challenging. First 3 to 4 customers, we had to actually spend ourselves so much time and energy to actually get this product up and running. So then, at the same time, we had so much request from the small business side, like people who use a cookbook. Majority of 78% of the market, small business uses the cookbook as their accounting and ERP system. So that we were ignoring those market because we thought that we need to go to these large enterprises. But the problem is it's not scalable. Okay, so that's why we say, hey, let's stop because we are a young startup and we are not in the Silicon Valley, and we don't we raise some small amount of money, but we are not financially that strong to actually burn the cash upfront to
yeah,
fine tune this model for the all the large organization. So that's why we decide, okay, let's go to the small business, focus that one specific ERP cookbook or the accounting software, and make sure that it works for that specific ERP. Then we can actually scale back to the other organization.
yeah, amazing. But you always had this idea in mind around like solving financial problems within a business, but it was just that you went big and then you went, oh, actually it's a problem. So it's a real pivot, right?
Yeah,
In terms of like, so you've been up and running for 2 years.
yeah,
When you were you going to say something?
yeah. No, no. This is my my take here. We saw that like what is the problem we want to solve for the business, right? Even large organization, small business, they have the same problem. It's a much different scale. So let's we think about it. Any organization have to issue invoices for their customers, and also that they have to actually record the expenses. Those are two things happening, right? And pay the employees. So those are every business actually doing the same thing. So then problem is the same. Everybody is doing today manual, right? So the large organization, usually if you have 250 people like organization, so they can have at least 5 to 6 people working on the CFO office with the CFO. So what everybody is doing, manually recording all this transaction on the books or whatever the accounting software they use. And a month end, they're in a CHSO, right? So they have to close the books and in order to generate the reports. So then when we go to the small business, they never do that. Okay, because there's no way they can actually hire an external CFO, the accounting firm, to actually do this kind of job, right? Either they do it at the quarterly or the end, right? So then we saw the opportunity. Okay, QuickBook is the majority of people using the one software they used. Let's automate transaction categorization and recording, and also the bank reconciliation on the every month, and also generate financial insight, right? Because most of these small businesses, they never get a chance to actually get insight.
Yeah.
You know that, right? Like
Well, if
as
a
a small
business is
business owner.
profitable, like their cash flow, like it's all of those things you're talking about here, you're just kind of like you're just like going like this. You're like, oh, have I got enough money to pay the bills next month, or pay employees, etc.
Yeah,
I love it because part of putting this back to when you booked in for the podcast and I asked you what's one unique insight or lived experience when it comes to life, leadership and or business, and you said nothing is impossible. If humans can land a rocket in the moon, everything else in life is possible. It's just you need commitment, dedication and discipline until you achieve the goal. And the reason I call this out now is because what you're talking about here relates to yourself, but also relates to small businesses in terms of, there's that, anything is possible, but you need the right support around you also. And, what I see, and even sometimes with myself, the financial piece is the piece that needs to be completely interconnected into the business in order for your business to absolutely thrive. And so it relates to that commitment, the dedication and discipline to it until you achieve your goal. But I guess where I'm going with this is the gap quite often in small businesses or startups is that you don't have that financial resource support. And so it kind of gets put to the side. But actually, that's what enables us to make things possible as well. Like, do you know what I'm saying here?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So the financial is the core, right? We know
Yeah.
that even like lay next ourselves, right? So even though we are tech people, we are engineers, we don't like to do the financial jobs, but it's super important to actually have the knowledge about what's going on with your business, right? Financially, and that's a core part. Any business doesn't matter if it's the 2 people organization or the 1,000 people organizations. That's the number one thing. So that's why we want to enable, right? We want to enable all the small business owners. They can actually use the AI to automate everything and real time get the insight about their business. They don't have to worry about it. So the other thing, I don't want to actually talk about the like a negativity about the CPA or the accounting firm, but the problem is this is the problem. When I talk with our customers, we ask why we actually finding a CPA firm to do the bookkeeping,
Yeah.
right? So that, but then the some feedback we get, either it's not affordable and affordability problem. Maybe that's the one concern. Other one is still you have to actually communicate with the CPA. Hey, I need to actually send all the document to the CPA, and then they come back to us. People say they don't have a time to actually spend going back and forth with these CPAs every month, right? Or every day when the transaction. They would rather have some AI agent who can actually automatically handle this kind of thing than leave me alone. Hey, you take care of that. Then end of the month, give me these financial insights. That's it. So that's how the other side insight we have.
Yeah, it's interesting. Tell me a little bit about the financial insight. Like, I mean, I'm a big believer in obviously a business strategy and the need to have a business strategy and have your financial goals and your targets. Like this financial insight, is this like month to month, or can it provide a financial insight around, year on year and your growth strategy and what your plans are? Like, how does the AI CFO work with you to plan your forecasting, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So the number one thing, in order to generate any insight, your transaction need to be properly recorded on your books, right? Every single transaction need to be real time recorded. So that's the key part. So then next thing is you don't have to wait until month end to generate insight. By weekly, hey, you know how much money I have to collect from my customers, and also have how much I'm burning, right? That you have this real time visibility. That's actually core thing we promise to the customer. Hey, you have real time visibility about your business. You don't have to wait until month end to see the financial,
Yeah.
or the quarter or the year end to see the financial, right? So number one thing is to actually get the data in real time to the books. Then after that, you can actually AI can do the so many interesting stuff based on that data. Hey, cash flow, how much runaway I have. Let's say if we are a VC funded startup, mostly initial couple of years we burning money than we making money, right? So you need to understand how many months we have. So those are the so important metrics you need to measure
Yeah.
every single week, maybe.
Yeah, it comes back to again your point around everything in life is possible. It just needs that commitment and back to decision and discipline. Because I think about a CFO and the way I've always had a finance partner, you know, different when you've got a startup though, because like the first couple of years in startup, some people hit gold straight away in terms of lots of revenue coming in, cash flow, etc. But I'm a big believer. You're still finding your feet in the first 2 years, and you're either still in your old world of doing what you were doing previously and taking on those sorts of client projects, whilst you're testing product fit, market research, all that sort of stuff, and even listening to you with what you did with Layer Next, and your original plan with enterprise versus where you've landed with small businesses. Does the AI CFO work with you? Because there's times as a founder or small business, you like, "Oh, I need to probably just give up and get a job," or, that because I can't see the wood for the trees from a financial perspective. Does it have that side of, I guess it doesn't have that. Does it have those insights to be able to understand, coming back to this accountant piece, understand that, you know, it takes time to build a business. It doesn't just happen overnight. And so it may take 2, 3 years before you start to hit your strides financially.
Yeah, basically what's our goal? This is my goal, right? Any basically engineering point of view, we always set the goal, we try to achieve the goal, right? So I want to do the same thing for the business. So we're going to set the baseline. Hey, I want to have the 1 million AR within next 18 months. So then we're going to analyze what's happening right now. So we're going to reverse engineer how we're going to help you to achieve that goal. Basically, you need X number of customers, you need to sell X number of product in order to reach that goal. Then we can lay out based on the provided high level objectives or the goal. So we can actually break down task plan or the execution plan. So then we can measure in real time whether you're achieving or you actually not achieving this goal. Then we can provide some advice like a course correction. Hey, you're doing XYZ correct, and but you are not actually doing ABC proper. So that's basically the idea here. Final outcome.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And tell me, I just had a good question for you. What trust and security. So you're going into small businesses, you're offering this product. It's not a real person. It's, it's an agent, if you like. It's a it's a CFO, but they're not here like we are talking right now. Do you get much resistance or from a trust and security perspective, especially given its financials, when it comes to, because it's a very new world what you're offering. Yeah. So do you get any of that sort of resistance around it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So basically as a young startup, not everybody trusting us, and only that, right? The innovation curve, right? Basically early adapters, right? So
Yes.
they like to try because the pain is so high, and they like to try the new ways, new tools or new way of doing things. So that we have that kind of people who actually they connect with their cookbook, right? Basically, they are connecting their cookbook with LearnX software, our software, right? So then we have a responsibility, don't mess their books, right? Otherwise, it's going to nightmare.
Yeah.
So that's why we have so many precaution layers, because when you open up the AI agent to your books, it's risky, right? Agent can misunderstand something and it can actually change everything, right? Every financial metrics. So our approach is do things like a bite size, right? Basically, let's say if you want to upload a bank statement and reconcile, we do one transaction at a time. Okay, one transaction at a time. If agent have confusion or any doubt about to doing any task, it's going to create a question on the system for the human user. Hey, you spend 300 ABC store. What is that for? I don't see the receipt you attach with this, right? So then it's going to go back to the human. Then it's going to give us some option too. It might be you purchase something like for the office expenses, or maybe you actually purchase for the meal and entertainment. Please tell me more information. So the one transaction action at a time, and if agent gets some confusion or questions, it's not going to post the transaction into the cookbook. It's going to ask from the human and has to go back and actually answer that. It's like the
Yeah.
same thing like a human, right?
Yeah.
Human, if we are really smart person working on the organization, they're not going to do tasks with the half of like a partial information, right? So you have to go ask from your boss or superior, hey, give me the other information. So that's what was our approach, and that's how we actually continue this development with this agent.
Yeah, I love the problem solving too. Like it's classic relationship with the CFO and the business, like there's, everything is questioned, it's not just like set and forget sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I love the way you've still brought the human into it. Tell me a little bit about I guess leadership and what you see from small businesses, what are you seeing as their biggest, I guess, challenges right now? Knowing, I mean, especially with what you're doing, but what are you seeing from leaders in general at the moment that their biggest stresses or challenges are? Is it finance? Is it financials? Are you seeing other themes that are coming up as well?
Yeah, there are two things, right? The people are looking for right now. And our product actually cater for this both audience. Some people coming to us, hey, they just want to do the bookkeeping first because their book is so outdated. Because right now is the tax season in North America, so we need to help them to actually get their books up to date for the 2025 tax year, right? So that's the one thing we do. And some other people who comes here, we help them to actually audit the whatever the bookkeeping they have done.
Yeah,
We try to audit them and help them to optimize their uh, tax. In Canada, there's a concept called GST,
yeah, we have
and
Jess.
also you have GST, and here that it's called a GST input tax credit. If you actually properly record your expenses in the cookbook with the proper tax, you can actually deduct some of the portion you paid as a GST from the government.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah. So the most of the businesses they don't do that because if you don't properly bookkeep, you cannot actually collect that from the CRA or the Canada Revenue Agency. So we help this organization recover that unclaimed tax, the GST tax portion. So that's the one other thing.
Excuse me. I'm going to sneeze.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the one part we're doing for the some other part of the customers. They really want the financial insight, right? So their books are good, and somebody already have done the bookkeeping, but they want to understand their business properly. So that's the other set of the customers we serve.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I find it really interesting what you just said then, because for me, and it's a question as well as an observation, but basically, when you're in startup or you're a small business, you can ultimately fail and your business can ultimately not survive if you don't have your financials in order. The amount of times I've gone into businesses and they've just got no cash flow, they've got no forecasting model, no tools. You must see that all the time, like in terms of, so do you think that's a big opportunity in terms of a lot of businesses, coming back to your response to my question, that yes, anything is possible, but you've got to have the right structure and systems, and I guess you can't shortcut some of this stuff when you're building a business, or you're a small business. These are some of the foundational things you need to be able to then grow and scale as such. Like, do you believe that? Like, do you see that?
Yeah. So basically the most of our customers, right, our current customer base, once they actually really happy with their books are up to date, next thing they're expecting from us, hey, how good our insight, automatically generated insight, basically, right? So we basically running on the background. There are some weekly or the monthly pre-programmed reports automatically generating with AI, and also on the spot, right? AI running on your data and finding some hidden patterns. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Some expenses, let's say the LinkedIn, I spent LinkedIn last month $200, but this month I'm spending 800. Why is that? So then basically those are the things our customers actually expecting from us. Hey, notify me on real time what's going on, so then we can control and adjust my budget and other stuff.
Yeah, and your expenditure and all that sort of thing as well. Yeah, it's quite fascinating. And then the other flip side of it, there's that finance, foresight or financial foresight to be able to grow. I've got a couple of final questions for you. Tell us a little bit why you shared the response you did, and from your own perspective, back to like nothing is possible, everything else in life is possible. Tell us
Yeah.
about your commitment, your dedication and discipline until you achieve the goal as a founder yourself. Like, yeah.
So my journey, right? When I studying electrical engineering, but I didn't like that. I don't want to work on the power company, power sector. So then I went to a software company, large, big scale software company, and it's basically London Stock Exchange. Okay, London Stock Exchange. They interview. They interview. So I didn't know anything about the this programming. Okay, so I told them, hey, nothing is impossible. because if you give me a chance, I can learn and actually make it happen. So that's my motto for my life. So basically, anything is possible. If you want to build a business, yes, it's super hard to build a business, but if you have patience and you have right strategy, and if you find the right team, you can make it happen. Especially in Winnipeg, right? Super hard to raise money. It's hard, basically. It's impossible.
Why is it in Winnipeg? Like, why is it so hard in Winnipeg of all places?
Because basically the Winnipeg is the most conservative city, right? When it comes to technology, right? When it comes to technology, right? So any new technology, you need to have early adapters,
Yeah.
early believers, right? If you go to San Francisco, all the Toronto, maybe even Toronto, like tech hubs, so that you can find these early adapters who's willing to actually take a risk. And also there are some investors or the angel investors who willing to make up early bets. So here is opposite, but we were somehow lucky. We were able to actually get some investors on board with our mission and make it happen.
Yeah, amazing. So you're up against it. Like you're in the most conservative place in the world, city in the
Yeah,
world.
tech. When it's come to the tech, right?
Yeah,
Basically,
when it comes to tech.
tech adaptation. Yeah,
Yeah, but yet here you are reshaping financial, kind of bringing in this CFO. Like it's quite incredible. And that must take a lot of commitment and discipline and dedication. But you must also have your moments where you're just like, hands are up in the air. Oh my God, like 2 years in. Like, do you have those moments? And then what brings you back to like, no, this is possible? You can't be always up and going, everything's possible. So it's that kind of toxic positivity is where I'm going with this. So when
yeah.
you have those moments of just, like, what do you do? How do you pull yourself out of it?
So that's why, right? Basically, we objectively measure what we want to achieve with our performance, right? So then, when we pivot from enterprise to the small business, we understood that it's hard and we don't have much resources to keep working on the enterprise side unless we do something else. That's why we pivot, right? We pivot based on the reasons or the rationale. And yeah, absolutely, like you said, that's super hard. I think every startup founder or the entrepreneur know how hard it is. How are we going to pay the bills for the end of the month? I pay the salaries because my liability is my team, and I don't want them to go away, right? So basically, I want to keep employing them and keep building this thing. So then sometimes it's hard, but it's still my always motto: nothing is impossible, right? So that's the same thing I'm telling myself every single day.
I love it that you just got that mantra that you just do. It's for me, it's that relentless, like just not giving up. And even when it's up against you, it's just that ability to be like, it's like for me, it's that Audrey Hepburn saying quote, nothing is possible. Nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. I don't know if you've ever heard that quote before by Audrey Hepburn or if you know who she is, but I just love it because it's so true. Like, like it's that curiosity, it's being open-minded, it's having the courage, it's walking into the unknown, the ability to adapt, be flexible. We're constantly shaping and reshaping. And, you're 2 years in, and who knows where your business will be in, 12 months' time, let alone another 2 years, especially with what the pace of AI and the revolution of tech.
Yes.
You
Go
go.
ahead. No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I want,
Finish it.
do you like, I mean, that would be one other question I have for you. Like in terms of, there's a lot of businesses out there that are building like an AI native business. And I don't know, you must see this, like given that you're an engineer and you're, product background, do you see there's a lot of businesses out there where it's like, it's kind of it's almost like they've created a one-hit wonder without like you're back to your financial foresight and the longevity versus what is required for an AI native business to last a distance when it comes to a tech revolution?
Yeah, this is a very uncertain world, right? Basically, when it comes to AI right now, it was used to every 6 months you're getting a new model from the OpenAI or the Anthropic, right? Now every month maybe you're getting the new update, right? Sometimes
Killing.
maybe the big lab can eat us, right? Basically, hey, they will actually provide some of the features we offer as a product, right? It's super uncertain right now, but we want to play the long game. We know that, right? If we actually stay long and we do the right thing, we solve the right problem for the customers, and I think some good things will happen.
Yeah, I agree.
That's basically, yeah.
I love that response. And I think that's where the human and the AI collaborate and, that, yeah, bringing it all together is so important because you're playing the long game. You're not just like, yeah, I think that's where, like there's that shiny toy and chasing the money because it's flashy and it's there and there's all these opportunities, but it's also having that ability to be like back to your one step at a time as well, one transaction at a time. Playing the long game requires, slow and steady wins the race. Here we are. I've got all these quotes coming out. What would be one piece of advice you would give any small business right now who wasn't automating when it came to bookkeeping reconciliations and they didn't have any financial insight? What would be one piece of advice you would give them on how to start and where to start in terms of
Yeah, so I think the best place to start to keep your books clean. Try to actually. I know that is easy to say, but it's hard to done, right? Basically, in order to make your books clean every single month, somehow, regardless with the Layer Next or some other tools, if you can actually get your books clean with a lot of other AI tools, you can get some insight about your business, right? You can pull the reports from the maybe ChatGPT and put into the ChatGPT and ask forecast for what's going to happen on the next month. And my main advice for the like small business owners operating on the not on the tech side, at least on the many other disciplines, get your data into the whatever the accounting software you use, make it clean every single month on real time if possible, right? So that's then after that, so many good things can be done on top of your data. Then you can see what's going to happen in next 3 months, next 6 months, next year, right? And also if you actually reverse engineer, if you set your objectives, hey, I want to achieve 1 million or 2 million, whatever the revenue numbers you want to achieve, then reverse engineer and see what's need to be happen. Do I need to hire more salespeople, marketing? How much money I want to spend on the marketing, right? So if you always reverse engineer, good things happen. That's 100% I know that.
Yeah, I love it, and it's so good. And you'll be pleased to know that I do keep it clean. Like yeah, again, like it's just reconciling each month. It's finding the time, isn't it? It's fun. It's back to your goals and priorities. But you've given me some good reminders today, also, Buddhika. You mentioned to me pre-show that you offer a 14-day trial. How do we find out? One, if we were a small business in the USA or Canada and we were wanting to explore partnering with you.
Yeah, so basically it's a self-serve. Today, if you go to the layernox.ai and go start for free and no credit card is required, then you can try the product and then we can help you. If you have any more question, send me email, buddhika@layernox.ai. And also I'm available on the LinkedIn and also X, all the social media platform. You can reach out to me.
Excellent. I'm just intrigued. Layer Next. What's behind the name of the business?
Yeah, basically all the everything in your business already have a software, right? So basically the data layer is already there. QuickBook or any software, CRM, everything is on the data, right? Basically, so now you need the next layer. Hey, you need the intelligent layer, right? So that's what we provide.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
cool. Like I always love the yeah. Thank you so much. It's been a really insightful conversation, and yeah, I love this whole AI CFO and gosh, like what's possible and who knows, whether you get into Australia or not. I'd certainly give it a whirl and get on that 14-day trial. So thank you for coming on the show, Buddhika. Hopefully the weather starts to pick up a little bit for you and it gets a bit warmer as well. But have a wonderful Wednesday evening.
Thank you very much for having me.
No, thank you. Take care.